how many Jewish Kurds roots and identity, and this include food, in particular like Cuba, for example. Long shared history between the Kurds had profound impact on many Kurds, leading the Jews of Kurdistan, because they serve as kind of umbilical cord, with the Kurds, non-Jewish Kurds in the diaspora, but also in Kurdistan. Before starting, I would like to also extend my thanks to organizer for offering the space to speak about the very actually timely and important subject. So it's very, very important. So, and I would like to actually talk about the common aspect, which is the history, the common history. You indicated, like and then cultural production, and then also address the challenges that we face, because as soon as the Kurds and Jews come together, like the anti-Semitic forces in the Middle East demonize them, criminalize them, and actually undertake everything to prevent this kind of alliance, or let's say friendship. Even alliance is also kind of based on mutual interest, but this is much more when we talk about the Kurds and Jews of Kurdistan. It's also about the friendship, as Netanyahu also mentioned, that we extend our hands in friendship to the Kurds, which means actually it's much more about the trust, much more about the bonds, kind of mutual responsibility. But this is something. I'm not going to talk about the geopolitical relationship and the realpolitik, because this is something that always change. I'm also someone who believes in constructivist theories, like how the people experience the culture, and how the culture and history actually serve as kind of grammatic for social life for people. Many synagogues that are named after the Kurdish cities, like Zahra Synagogue, Ahmadiyya Synagogue, Kamshlo Synagogue, Diyarbakir Synagogue, German Synagogue, and the music evoke powerful emotions, often bringing members of the community to tears. I mean, when I took the taxi driver, I was a member of the Jews from Kurdistan, and when I told him that I'm of Kurdish origin, he immediately turned on the Ahmed Arif Jizrawi and he started crying. When I asked him, why do you cry? He said, because it reminds me of my father. He always, when we arrived in Israel, he always turned on the radio Ivan, and we always hear this music, because in Kurdistan they had this music. It's very interesting. So, in short, the shared history, the traditional circle dances are also key elements of the Kurdish cultural heritage. In Israel, dance troops teach and perform these traditional dances, like two dance troops mainly, and passing the dances down to younger generation. This helps strengthen the sense of belonging to the Kurdish community and the culture. In short, the shared history and culture of Kurds and Jews in Kurdistan as part and parcel of Israeli society transcend the geopolitical interests and have the potential to deepen the relationship between both nations. Despite shared historical experiences and cultural values, many challenges continue to prevent the flourishing of Kurdish and Jewish friendship. Although my personal research experience in Israel is actually a clear example of these challenges. Since starting my research on Kurdistan's Jews in Israel in 2021, I have faced significant problems, as particularly scholars from Turkey, Iran, and some European countries have boycotted academic events I attended, and posted hostile comments on social media to discredit both me and my work. Some of the scholars have even refused to shake my hands at certain conferences. In addition, my institutional affiliation with Hebrew University has led. How many minutes do I have?
One more minute.
1 minute, okay, I think I finished it. Yeah, maybe 2 minutes, let's say. Has led to the rejection of my academic papers. Finally, some of my Jewish colleagues and I were expelled from certain networks, which unfortunately heavily influenced by scholars from countries I mentioned earlier, who hold anti-Semitic and anti-Kurdish views. This exclusion is not just a personal matter. It reflects a broader issue and undermines the efforts of Kurdish and Jewish scholars striving to build a meaningful and sustainable friendship between the population. The consequences of these challenges extend beyond academia, aiming to erode the trust and collaboration essential for promoting understanding between both groups. In response to these challenges, I believe it's crucial for Kurdish and Jewish academics to collaborate, bridging historical and cultural divides to build a stronger partnership. As a Kurdish researcher from Germany, I have seen growing interest in the Kurdish issue and more support from the Kurdish cause in Israel. Like Ofra Benchu is our mother of the Kurds, and she undertakes a lot of activity. Actually, she is like a mouthpiece of the Kurds, and everyone knows the Kurdish issue from her perspective. It's very, it's very, many people, whenever I tell people that I'm from Kurdistan, they hug me because they feel like, and ask me, when are we going to establish a state? How long are we going to wait for you? This is a question that I always get. I also observed on social media platform that many Kurds, both in Kurdistan and diaspora, are expressing this solidarity with the Jewish people. The relationship between both societies is intensifying, and academics can play a pioneering role in this process to make this more tangible. Moreover, the collaboration could actively combat misinformation and manipulation that full anti-Semitic and anti-Kurdish sentiment, which is also confronting malicious actors who seek to divide both societies. Finally, this academic collaboration can reinforce an alliance and friendship founded on shared geopolitical interests and based on common values, trust, and mutual responsibility. I thank you so much for...
From Dohuk. He was the big rabbi in Dohuk, and he came to Israel in 1936. He was a Zionist, and he dreamed about Israel, and he's coming by foot to Damascus, and with the train over to Jerusalem, to the Kurdish neighborhood in Jerusalem. I have served the Jerusalem City Council. I'm officer in the Israeli Military Reserve, but above all, I work daily as educator with the unrisked youth and the Israeli Minister of Education. Today, my office and I served like unuseful ambassador for any Kurds, any person, from journalists, politics, or even tourists who is wishing to come to visit Israel. And you have a lot of people here that come to Israel and come to my office, and we make a meeting and we try to help as we can. With your permission, I want to say a few words about October 7th. Been facing since this day, on October 7th. The Hamas terrorists create out of the worst masters of the Jew since the Holocaust. They attack and killed more than 1,200 innocent people. Many others, including baby, women, and elderly people, were kidnapped and are still held in the channel under the ground in Gaza. I ask the British Parliament, if we have a few people here that can tell to all the Parliament, to take immediately action and demand the quick release all the hostages of the Jewish hostages. The Jewish and the Kurdish people share a long history of friendships, struggle, and hope for freedom. For 1,000 years, Jews lived in Kurdistan. Many moved to Israel before and after the independence of Israel, become soldiers, leaders, important members of society. And not a lot of people of Kurdish Jews in Israel. Some of them, like generals like Yitzhak Mordechai and Poli Mordechai, rose to the highest ranks in the Israeli army. My uncle, Chaviv Shimoni, and my colleague, Wesi, talk about him, founded the Kurdish community organization in Israel in the 16th and the 17th. He also served in the Israeli parliament for many years and helped to study the connection between Israel and the Kurdish people. Other important leader is Miki Levy, who served as the spokesman of the Knesset Israeli Parliament.
We had no idea that of such interest. And I want to thank here the organizer, the heart of this work, Liat here. Liat is one of the tradition of these formidable Kurdish women who actually run the world. So I want to pay respect to all Kurdish women through Liat. I want to mention one of the greatest Jewish Kurdish women is Osnat Barzani, who in the 17th century became the head of a yeshiva, like a madrasa, Jewish madrasa, which never happened in the history of the Middle East that a woman heads a yeshiva. And Osnat Barzani is buried in Kurdistan, and I went to visit the place, and please God, maybe we could do something like a building for her, a museum for her, in honor of all Kurdish women. I speak about Iraqi diaspora, Babylonian diaspora, as the oldest diaspora in the world. But it's not true. The oldest diaspora in the world is the Kurdish Jewish diaspora. It actually is 100 years earlier than 586, when the Babylonian when the Jews of Yehuda, kingdom of Yehuda, were taken to Babylon. The Kurds were there through descendants and went to the Assyrian Empire and settled there. As far as I know, they were welcomed then and throughout 2,700 years until actually they departed. And they departed in the early 50s, like the Babylonian Jews, the Baghdadi Jews. But the Baghdadi Jews were kicked out. Everything was taken away from them. They were allowed 3 suits, 4 dresses for a woman, 1 ring, 4 books, and that's it. And $20. And you go out, and you go and you don't come back. You leave your home, you leave your money, you leave your gold, you leave everything you've ever worked for and everything you inherited for thousands of years. But not the Kurdish Jews. The Kurdish Jews were waved into the trains as they left. People cried for seeing them leave. And until today, you walk into the Jewish quarters and the homes are locked waiting, maybe somebody will come back. But they were not robbed, they were not taken, they were not, like in Baghdad now, almost nothing is left. The only prophet left in Iraq who is protected and preserved is the prophet Nahum. And the only reason why it was because it's protected by the Peshmerga. And recently we rebuilt it, an NGO, Christian NGO from the United States of America, rebuilt it brick by brick and spent $4 million on the prophet Nahum, and waiting for each one of you in Al-Qosh, each one of you should pay visit to there and see that place rebuilt. Every other prophet and big rabbi has been taken in Iraq and made into a mosque. The latest one is Ezekiel in the Kifil, which was standing up to 2019. I was there visiting the prophet, and now it's locked. The roof is going to fall on the prophet's shrine, and the big, huge mosque will take its place there. Ezra, the scribe, that's gone. Jonas is gone. Daniel is gone. Yitzchak Gaon in Baghdad is gone. The synagogues, that's only one single synagogue left in Baghdad. We found the other one in Mosul, in Ahmadiyya, the Sassoon synagogue. And that is now sitting, waiting for the government approval, so that be there. And the Barzani family, the Jewish Barzani family, were running that synagogue, the Sassoon. And they are in Israel, showed me memorabilia and everything there that belongs to that synagogue. So the Kurds and the Jews. The Kurds protected their arrival, protected their departure, protected their homes, protected the prophet, protected the synagogue. And I want to add something else, my personal story, because they protected our lives as well. I was born in Baghdad and I lived there for 16 years. And the first 8 years were wonderful. And the last 8 years were hell. And hell is, we could not even escape it. In 1968, Saddam Hussein came with the Ba'ath Party, and in 1969, January 27, one of the worst days in my memory and memory of the Iraqi Jews, 10 Jews were hanged. Out of 14 people, 10 of them were Jews, innocent people, 2 of them underage. And where were they hanged? In the public square in Saht al-Tahrir. And each one of them hanged all day with a white linen and on the word Jew on the front, and on the back his full name and address. When life became hell, we needed to go. We could not possibly live anymore. And it took a few years, and our lives were saved because of the brave Kurdish people. They allowed us the chance and the opportunity to escape from the mountains of the north, Salah ad-Din, into Iran, some people in the south, some people in the north. My own story came in August 15th, 1971. And we made our way as a family towards the Kurdish enclave. And we locked our doors, we left everything else. I had 2 younger sisters, my mother, her mother, and my father. We changed passports to actually forge them, because we never had any passports. So we had forged papers. We had different names. We could not speak our language, the Judeo-Arabic, because we didn't want people to know. Finally, we got to Salah ad-Din, the resort, and finally we saw people we could trust and hug and cry. We were kept inside in the basements until it was a very dark night, until dark as possible in the night, midnight, when we were told we can be put on a pickup lorry and the driver will drive without lights through the mountains. These are not paved mountains. These are very dangerous mountains. And hopefully, after a drive of a couple of hours, we will get to where we want to be, which is Khana in Iran. There was complications that night. More people turned up than was expected. And the pickup lorry became very heavy. And in the dark, as we were put like sandwiches, one on top of the other, the pickup will just not go up the hill. And suddenly, it started rolling back to death. And everybody was praying Shema Israel, knowing that the end is there. And by a miracle, it stopped. And the driver came out and picked a person at a time, because to keep the balance of the lorry. And then we tried again. And again, the lorry went back. And the driver said, "You're not going to make it that way. You wait here, and I'll go and get a bigger one." And he did. We didn't know whether he's going to come back or not. But he did. He came back, risking his own life. We got a bigger place, and now the lorry actually moved faster until it got to Khana. When we got there, the driver said, "You've got to get out immediately. I have to go home. I've got to back to Salah ad-Din before sunrise." And we said, where are you leaving us? And he said, don't worry, your people will pick you up. You are free now. And people who started crying, and he looked at me, and I was 16, he was maybe in his mid-20s. And he looked at me and he said, my name is Masoud Barazani. I am the son of Mullah Mustafa. You promise me that every time you tell the story of how you were saved, you say to them, you mention the Kurdish people. We did not do it for money. We did not do it for anything other than our love to the Jewish people and what you have done to us. And he said to me, my father only allowed 3 people to risk their lives to save you. Myself, my brother, and Kak Habib, the Peshmerga chief. And I kept my word. And even today, and every day, whenever I mention this story, I mention this great tie-up, how you saved everything, our lives, our homes, our profits, and 1,900 Jews were saved that way. History has not recorded this as yet, but must do. And it will be a much bigger story than Schindler's List. Schindler's List saved 600 people, and the Kurdish people saved 1,900 people. I pledge with all my colleagues here, and I am honored here to sit with the mother of the Kurdish Jewish nation, Professor Afra, Dr. Waisi, who do work, and my dear friend Yehuda, who's doing an incredible job uniting the Kurds in Israel with the Kurds in Kurdistan, with Kurds in Europe. Time is now to make that alliance, and the person to do it is Liat. Across Europe, across the world. I want to tell you, your place is in every Jewish heart. And I just came back from America, where the new administration is designing the Middle East, the new Middle East. And I met the representatives of the Kurds of Syria, Turkey, Iran, Iraq, who are sitting in Washington and working, believe me, working hand in hand with the Jewish community there to get the message across that 45 million people with one nation, one language, one tradition, one cannot be divided and oppressed forever, cannot be played as a football between 4 nations that treat them the way they treat them. And I hope to God that we can do whatever we can do so that you, like us, have a free state of Kurdistan. Thank you.
Roots and identity, and this include food, in particular like Kuba, for example, many synagogues that are named after the Kurdish cities like Zafo Synagogue, Ahmadiyya Synagogue, Kamshlo Synagogue, Diyarbakir Synagogue, German Synagogue, and the music evoke powerful emotions, often bringing members of the community to tears. I mean, when I took the taxi driver was a member of the Jews from Kurdistan, and when I told him that I'm of Kurdish origin, he immediately turned on the Ahmed Arif Jizrawi and he started crying. When I asked him, why do you cry? He said, because it reminds me of my father. He always, when we arrived in Israel, he always turned on the radio Ivan, and we always hear this music, because in Kurdistan they had this music. It's very interesting. So, in short, the shared history, the traditional circle dances are also key elements of the Kurdish cultural heritage. In Israel, dance troops teach and perform these traditional dances, like two dance troops mainly, and passing down passing the dances down to the younger generation. This helps strengthen the sense of belonging to the Kurdish community and the culture. In short, the shared history and culture of Kurds and Jews in Kurdistan as part and parcel of Israeli society transcend the geopolitical interests and have the potential to deepen the relationship between both nations. Despite shared historical experiences and cultural values, many challenges continue to prevent the flourishing of Kurdish and Jewish friendship, as it had profound impact on many Kurds.
From Dohuk. He was the big rabbi in Dohuk, and he came to Israel in 1936. He was a Zionist, and he dreamed about Israel, and he's coming by foot to Damascus, and with the train over to Jerusalem, to the Kurdish neighborhood in Jerusalem. Big impact in many areas. Many people from the community have become judges. My uncle was a judge in Israel.
When we got there, the driver said, "You've got to get out immediately. I have to go home. I've got to back to Salah ad-Din before sunrise." And we said, "Where are you leaving us?" And he said, "Don't worry, your people will pick you up. You are free now." And people started crying, and he looked at me, and I was 16, he was maybe in his mid-20s. And he looked at me and he said, "My name is Masoud Barazani. I am the son of Mullah Mustafa. You promise me that every time you tell the story of how you were saved, you say to them, you mention the Kurdish people.